Welcome back to Broad's League Heroes. In the top left, it is John as our Red Terran player. And in the bottom right, it is quadratic. Spawning as blue, with throwing out a GLHF, and of course, good luck high. John with some choice words, 2 depots, a gas geyser, and no barracks, so a very bold opener here. Definitely an uncommon, a unique build. I don't think we've seen it in the meta lately. Mostly because when you do this build, you don't have any units. But the second barracks is queued up after the first. Gotta make sure that that SCV knows where its income is coming from over the next few minutes. Quadratic double gas. Already ready to follow up with a second depot. Not quite a wall here, but much closer than that of John. Okay, now all we're looking for is the classic engineering bay transition. Need to get those planetary fortresses loaded up. We got the orbital out of quadratic, looking good so far. A factory on the way, a reactor. The SCV will slip by as he realizes this is not quite a wall. And looks like Home Depot definitely going to have a profitable day here. John going to expand sneakily to the back base. Now, on this map, the base, very defensible in the back, very easy to lock down, but has half the mineral patches, which means half the potential income of minerals. We'll have to see. And there it is. The engineering bay. Will be finished before there's even a dream of having a single air unit. So this, of course, will be for making sure that building armor is up in time. Drops it down. A reactor very early here. Another reactor on the way. Another factory begins. Unfortunately, he hasn't built anything out of the factory yet, but one step at a time. More factories being created on the opposite side, but John has been pretty consistent about building these SCVs. Obviously a Brood War player. As he knows, you cannot rally the SCVs to the minerals because that would be far too easy. A turret coming up. Gonna zone out any planetary fortresses trying to fly in, or any command centers looking to be planetary fortresses trying to fly in. He's been hurt before, but never again. 2 cyclones on the way. As both these players build up, and neither player has any information about anything outside of their base.
SCV ready.
Both very content with their build, for better or for worse. Well, really, the only thing it's for is our entertainment. But double reactor barracks here. Both these somewhat similar builds. We're going up to 4 factories here for John. We got 2 reactor factories for quadratic. He's also expanding to that back base. So quite a mirror matchup we have on our hands. The TPM begins to raise. It looks like we're going to have 3, 4, 5 turrets, but he's contracted 1 SCV to build all of them. Some serious government bureaucracy problems here. But the TPM will be approaching 1 for quadratic. Of course, turrets per minute. An important statistic to realize really the level, the genius of these players. Unfortunately, John, no engineering bay yet, so his TPM is going to be lagging. 4 Cyclones at a time. Now, when a record is a little bit over 10 minutes, I believe, for no rush, for no units dying, for nothing losing its precious life. And we've made it halfway there, 5 minutes, and neither player has attacked the other, let alone scouted. The armory's on the way. The depots are coming up. Regardless of whether or not he needs them, he will have them. And it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. That's what John would tell you. Yeah. 2 armories on the way. We're touching the 6-minute mark. A scan! A scout! But what will he do with this information? A 3rd base for John, a very macro-intensive build. John at an average of 55 actions per minute. That's nearly 1 every second. Quadratic, not quite there. As these players build up. The SCV is slipping by the back door here. The Cyclones, a little bit more bulky. Not going to be able to... They're going to have to go over the depots. An armory on the way. Neither player... Everyone knows zoning laws and everything. You can't have an armory in your main base right next to the SCVs. You have to have it on the outside. And more bureaucracy. You know how it is. Yeah, copying that. Well, an engineering bay on the way, actually. Siege tanks. 4 siege tanks coming out. We are at 7 minutes and counting. Watch that timer. Don't watch it too closely because, like, well, there's exciting things happening here. Okay, there's a lot going on. And you got to keep track because you're going to... Otherwise, you'll have no idea what happened. +1 mech weapons on the way for Quadratic. A sensor tower at the very front. Where's this SCV going? I mean, why not? Is this TY or is this John? I can't tell the difference. As he expands, again, a 4th base, and now he's going to be a gold digger. The Cyclones have made it down the ramp. Does this mean it's time for an attack? On the other side, John with a lot of siege. He's at 8 siege tanks, so no amount of Cyclones is going to break that. A scan. Quadratic gets his very first scout of the game. He sees the siege tanks. What's the move? What's the play? He will. With this valuable information. Build more Cyclones. Okay. Now, that begs the question. Did it matter? Where do you think the siege tanks come from? They don't just randomly appear through some wormhole. Of course, he had the factories, but he gets a scout of the main. The real question is, no matter what he scouts, is he going to not make Cyclones? Oh, 2 starports on the way. And now, because the Terran army for some reason hasn't developed the technology yet, siege tanks do not shoot up. Seems like a design oversight. But 9 minutes. We may be reaching a no-rush record. 9 minutes. We're almost at double digits. Half of pro games have either ended or are reaching their conclusion at this point. But these heroes are just getting started. John, with 4 bases and tanks and many tanks. 16 tanks. Quadratic. With plenty of turrets. Addy on the starports and 13 Cyclones. So many tanks, though. It's a lot of tanks. But Cloak on the way. So not only will the siege tanks not be able to shoot Banshees, but they also will not be able to see them. making it that much more terrifying. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Another scan. Scans on either side.
Good. Now I have your attention.
More tanks.
149 to 102 supply. John continues to build up, but Banshees could throw a wrench. 10 and a half. I think this is a new record. Well, we'll see. We'll see where it ends. Hyper Flight Rotors is on the way as well. They can fly fast, they can't be seen, and they're in the air. What can't Banshees do? Fly above air units and shoot down at them? Yes. The answer is yes, because there is no Z-axis in StarCraft. Besides, well, never mind. Don't worry about simple geometry, but one Banshee goes out. But we see our very first kill of the match. 2 SCVs going out to the other side. We're not entirely sure what they're trying to do. The Banshee's angling up towards the northeast. Well, really just the north. Where are these 2 SCVs going? "11 minutes. Hey. Blood for the blood god! He sacrifices 2. And the first kills of the match, first blood, goes to Quadratic at 11 minutes and 25 seconds. And that will cause him to panic, hit the select all army hotkey, and the Banshees are coming back home. Those 2 SCVs have thrown a wrench in all those plans. So many tanks on the ground. We're at 17 tanks. Almost more tanks than Cyclones. John still has a supply lead, but he has no detection, and most importantly, he has no turrets. The Cyclones on their way out. It looks like Quadratic has crunched the numbers. He knows what he needs. 125 supply is more than enough. The upgrades, +2, going on +3 mech weapons against no weapon upgrades on the siege tanks. Those Cyclones with their tornado blasters will rip through so much. But the Banshee's going into the main. The Cyclones on the ground. The tanks are not siege, but that's a lot of tanks. The Banshees come in and start to lay waste to the main base. Well, the Marines come up. John has stopped responding. Okay. The tanks. The Marines are trying to get by the tanks. He's parting the Red Sea. The cloak is used. Does he have a scan? Where is the scan? The Banshee's going to work. They target down a tank. Where is the scan? He can't see him. The Cyclones are coming up at the same time. He's lost a lot of his Marines. The tanks. He sieges all of the tanks. Oh my god. Those are very dead Cyclones. But the Banshee's still going to work. Another Banshee comes up. Eventually they will run out of energy. The Marines can fight them. Another Banshee on the way. John still building siege tanks and Marines. He's trying to build turrets. That might not be a premium location. He scans, but the Banshees uncloak. They uncloak during the scan. That's not how any of this works. But the Hyperflight Rotors, they dodge out. They can recloak again. Masters of Shape. He recloaks. But there's no scan. He dodged it. He juked the scan. He's killed almost all. No, this one does not cloak. He needs another scan. How many Marines are left? 11 Marines. Another Banshee. He could make Thor. The Banshee's running out of energy here. He's desperate. He still has so many tanks. John still has the supply lead. He unsieges. He can just go across the map. The Banshees are almost out of energy. The main orbital. Oh, he gets another one. There are no turrets here. The planetary can't shoot up. He's just gonna fly right by. It's a flyover planetary. They say, you don't care about us. This base, our values don't mean anything to you. You got your blue minerals out there. We're out there working in the golden mineral fields, and nobody cares about us, but the Banshees care. The Banshees care enough to kill some of the SCVs, all of the anti-air, and then move on with their lives. Scans for both sides. the tanks. He's got 20 tanks. He has more tanks than he has Marines. Against 6 Banshees and 3 Cyclones. Another Banshee flies in. The tanks will angrily look up at it. The cloak malfunctioned. But the Banshee's on the planetary. The SCV's being taken down. The planetary cannot run. It must sit there and contemplate its fate. It looks down, and it will never look up again. The tanks can't. They have to go around the squares. He's trying to go through the squares. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't butter up your siege tanks. Get them through the squares. You just gotta go around. A fusion core is on the way for quadratic. Still unclear as to who's... John has way more supply, but it is almost essentially all in siege tanks. 20 siege tanks. That number is about to be reduced. He's up against +3 weapons. The tanks will siege. These are very dead Cyclones. But he has no counter for the Banshees. It's an odd base trade. The Cyclones and Banshees ripping through. It appears John has given away... Oh my god. Those Cyclones scattered all throughout the map. And no, tanks do not outrun speed Banshees, in case you were wondering. They do not have that power. So the tank count will be cut down. John's hard work, but he is replacing it. He's got 4 tanks and a Thor queued up. It looks like he's going to be building up those Thors, but there's already... He has to retool the whole factory. We're building tanks until the end of the quarter, and then we can start building Thors, okay? There's a whole plan. There's a whole checklist you got to go through. There are regulations. There are precautions. You can't just start building Thors willy-nilly, okay? That's anarchy. But the Banshees are standing by. The TPM starts to raise for John. Better late than never, as he'll protect his factories. The Banshee count is 11. He has literally no other units and is only building Banshees. Plenty of money in the bank for both sides, but it's not about the money in the bank. It's about the forces on the field. $18 minutes in. It took over 11 minutes for any units to be lost, but now both sides have taken a beating. We have transitioned into mono-battle, as it's essentially only well, there are Marines. The Marines have 2-1 upgrades, but they do not have their stim, nor combat shields, nor any survival training. If we've seen this, how many? He's up to 10 turrets, so almost over 0.5. We're at about 0.6 TPM for John. And 3 Thors have finally begun production. All these Banshees could fall in 1 or 2 volleys of javelin missiles. The turrets come in. They fly over. Unfortunately, they had too much momentum, too much inertia. And that means the turrets will start to unload. He has no turrets at the back. Dodges past another one. The Thors are almost out. Another set of Banshees. He's coming back in. Another Banshee shot down. Quadratic sneaking to the back. More SCVs will fall. 42 SCVs have been killed thus far. John still has plenty of supply. Oh my god, he has so many tanks. 17 tanks. Another orbital will be doomed to destruction. No cloak on these Banshees. Unfortunately, all the cloaking devices, the cyber warfare put together by John in his last incursion, caused the cloaking devices to malfunction. And the Banshees will be gunned down by the Marines. One battlecruiser is on the way. We've got +3 mech, +1 ship, +2 armor on the weapon and armor upgrades here. A scan. Who's I have no idea who's scanning who. A scan at the front. John scans forward. He's got so many tanks. He's got a deadly army. He's got a couple Thors, 3 Thors in the mix. Battle cruisers are on the way. Battle cruisers okay against Thors. Banshees not so much, but of course if they don't have detection, goes into high impact mode. Looking to have a high impact on this game. So single target, no splash damage, but still no detection. How many orbitals? He has 2. A lot of the SCV is not at work, but he has money in the bank. It's not a big issue. It is 17 tanks, 51 Marines, and 5 Thors against 13 Banshees, a battle cruiser, and 3 clones. The high ground, though. The Banshees taking some hits from the Thors, being blasted down. He uses the cloaking device. The battle cruiser taking some big hits as well. But the Banshees continuing to work through. Where are the scans? The Banshees are working through everything. The tanks forced to unsiege. Quadratic holding the line. The Banshees! If only there were some ability he could use in order to see the Banshees, but the cloaking devices, ever since that last malfunction, have been upgraded to such a remarkable level that there's no way he could penetrate them. The Banshees will hold. One of them taken down after it was out of cloak, but the Thors will be chased back, and John will drop below 100 supply. Quadratic's Banshees save him again. Four more Marines in production. John seems to have run out of ideas. Oh, but he has a lot. The Banshees are running out of energy. He was in detection radius there of one of the turrets. John's still with a lot of money in the bank. Quadratic has not gone above 34 workers this entire match. He simply has not built SCVs. It's not like he lost that many. He just didn't build any. Oh, but the Banshees, the splash damage hitting some of the cloak Banshees as well. Another Banshee runs out of energy. Tanks being chased down. Innocent bystanders. John has finally dipped below that of Quadratic in supply. The Banshees continue to go to work. He's mined out of most of the bases here. A lot of the SCVs are idle. More turrets on the way. More money in the bank. But what is the solution? A battle cruiser comes up. More scans. Quadratic looking for bases. 4 Thors on the way for John, but he's running out of money. He just scanned almost pretty much the entire map has been scanned now. I don't even know what he's scanning anymore. I don't know. Wow, that was just lazy. But John with 4 Thors, it's all Banshees and 1 battle cruiser. The Thors and Marines, assuming there is detection, that's enough. Oh, he's flying into the turrets, but the javelin missiles come out. The Banshees are quite fragile. The Thors do extra damage to armored. I mean to light, rather to light, with their explosive payload doing extra damage to those Banshees, but Quadratic can't quite crack the defenses. Now that's 5 Thors. 4 more in production, and John is out of money. He has 0 mineral income and 41 minerals in the bank. He will come up. A battle cruiser. He scans. He scans. He scans. I want to emphasize this point. A battle cruiser will be taken down. The Banshees behind. The Banshees are cloaked out of scan range. But more Banshees are taken down. 4 more Banshees flying into the danger zone. Both sides tuck their tail. Not quite ready for this engagement. But that is 9 Thors and 38 Marines against 15 Banshees and 5 Hellions. John has built much, much more. The unit's lost. Oh my god. Oh. The Banshees, he scans! He fires! 1 Banshee taken down, but 1 Thor traded out. Great dodge away there by Quadratic. Every time you activate that cloaking device, it takes some more energy. On top of costing energy when you cloak. While you're cloaked. He's coming in. But the Thor shots, oh, he micros back. The turret's still there for some reason. He's not sure why. But the Thor is coming up. Quadratic might not be paying attention. The Thors hitting the center mass. The Banshees being slammed. A lot of them in the red. He's going to dodge back in. But he's going to be in turret range in a second. Another scan. Massive hits coming out from the Thors. He uncloaks. The cloak coming on and off more than most adult videos. 2 Banshees survive, but John just a couple scans, and it looks like he's halfway to checking out of this game. This Banshee exposed. Very dead. It is now 3 Banshees and 13 health. I think it seems like John has done it. He's managed to put together the army that he needs for victory. But he is turning around. You know, the turrets, quite good at exactly what they're designed for. I don't know if these Hellions are going to be enough to take down the Thors. The Marines are coming back up. The Hellions in a good spot to roast them. They might actually find some kills here. More Hellions coming up. The Thors will slam them. The Marines being roasted. Almost all of them will fall. Our quadratic continues to build those Banshees. It's almost... It's... John has not mined a... And John, as it seems consistent with the rest of this match, has simply not found the strength within himself to walk across the map with the right set of units and claim victory, but instead will tap out with 8 Thors. Those Hellions were too much. The Marines, they had families. He can't bear to lose anymore. And Quadratic, with his unorthodox and arguably effective style of making Banshees and losing Banshees and then making more Banshees and then losing those Banshees and then making more Banshees and then winning, will take it home.
Good. Now I have
Thank
your
you.
attention.
xIJhhonIx 1961, 2 months. Welcome back.